man, a wanderer in life, yearns for an oasis. He is tricked sometimes by a mirage, but we needn't let ourselves be tricked. G&G. It's no mirage. It's an oasis. G&G. Nika whiskey.
Everybody's ability to think, to feel, to suffer, and to will something, this uprising will in the people, this protesting will, this means for me the quality of being an artist. So everybody is an artist.
Joseph Beuys, painter, sculptor, musician, performance artist and philosopher, is a household name in Germany. His influence on political and cultural life ranges from musicians like Kraftwerk to the ecology movement. His recent lecture appearances in Britain have been as successful amongst the young as they were 20 years ago, when he startled the art world with his innovative actions. In one of his most famous actions, Beuys, his face covered in honey and gold leaf, sat for several hours carefully explaining his art to a dead hare. In another action in New York, he spent a week in a room alone with a wild coyote, with only a felt blanket for protection. Currently on show in London is a collection of tools used in his actions, displayed in museum-like glass cases he calls vitrines.
Vitrine is nothing else than to show the people some physical objects. So this is also a kind of museum. This shows the tools which were used in the 60s during performances. They're often very funny, sometimes childish-looking stuff, to make the people free from this heavy-footed intellectualism. This is the most elementary moving vehicle to survive. If you are in a very extreme condition, let's say on the North Pole, then there is everything you need. An isolator felt to keep you warm, a lamp for orientation in darkness, and fat for nourishment. There's also another reservoir of a fat sac, which is an accumulation of butter, wax, tallow, and the different kinds of fat, animal and plant fats.
The use of fat and felt and the idea of survival are recurring themes in Beuys's work.
When I was shot down in the Crimea during the Second World War, was rescued by tribes, Tatars, people, which were shepherds or people who worked with animals, with other animals. So they took me out of this crash heap of crashed airplane, brought me into a felt tent, wrapped me with a kind of fat and tallow as an ointment to keep me warm. They wrapped me into felt-like material. So this was an impulse for me to be reminded when later on I tried to develop a kind of theory, especially a theory of warm sculpture. There's a knife being bandaged. It means if you have cut your finger, you have not to bandage your finger, you have to bandage the knife. So you have to bandage all weapons. This is a soundless blackboard eraser. I found it so humorful to take this contradiction of society which makes so much sound. And in the case when they are working on blackboards, they are very interested to do it soundless. The best thing is to look at it. Nothing else. Make not too much complicated interpretations. Enjoy it only. Feel the taste and feel some innovation and feel the funny things and the humor in it. That's for me the most important thing.
But it is very simple to understand that when we speak about evolution, it means the whole power of life. And if we speak of our own needs and of the needs of our brothers and of the needs of our community, for instance, in all regions, and when we speak about perhaps from the constitution, from the situation in the United States or in Europe or in Vietnam or in Africa or in India or where you want to look for, we see that it is necessary to speak about another principle, about how we can give the principle of life a value that every human being can life. And this has nothing to do with to change now the idea of art to politics. For instance, that we say, now he changed his whole interest to be an artist to the idea to become a politician. It has for me, and this is the reason why I'm interested to inform this in art school, this idea in art school, a lot to do with the idea of art, because the formula I began with was a sentence: every human being is an artist. But now I have another understanding from art, and we mentioned it already before, that it is now related to the whole creativity, not only existing in a person interested to make paintings or an opera with sounds, that is now related to the whole creativity in the world. You see, this idea of art is enlarged. And the reason that there is a necessity to enlarge the idea of art is a condition in the world that we look that this idea of art was not able to change the world, that all people together could life. And when Pablo Picasso speaks about art, art should be a weapon in this direction. He mentions the word socialism. He mentions the word equality for every human nature to participate in education system and in learning system, to participate in equal value in the means of production in the culture. So I think this is Forderung has demand, is a demand, and it is a very right demand. But Picasso set only up this thesis. From my understanding, he was not able to show a kind of art who could be a weapon, because his own art was only able to give, was heißt Anregungen, impulses, powerful impulses to think in this direction. And therefore it seems to me very necessary that this sentence of Pablo Picasso, that the art has to become a weapon to reach these better positions in the society step by step, it is to do, and it has to take place, and otherwise art is no more possible. You see in the other contemplation about the structure, that only an artist who has an interest in this new basis to think about what human being means, what the society means, could come to a result with a necessity for the consumer. I mean now all people together, not only the consumer in an elitarian way, only people who had in the past the possibility to participate in the cultural institutions, to learn interesting things, to learn about culture, to learn about painting, are the consumers from painting, that for this they have to establish a new understanding from the society, and then they have a reason to paint. Therefore, I set up the thesis, it is impossible to make a painting without these reasons. It becomes every time a bad painting. It must become bad. It must become bad. In the whole, yes. There should be a possibility for a short time to have a bit egoistic profit, but only for a short time. Yes. after this short time, if you can, after a short time of going only on in this way to think about painting in the old context, to think only about how can the history in painting during the world can be changed through another shape or pattern, then he will see, then he will see that all these things cannot find interest, mostly cannot find interest in the majority, because only the old circle runs further on. Only the old circle who governs the world, who is interested to maintain the world in this condition she already is, and to govern the whole creativity of the world more in the direction that the system ruling, the political systems like political parties, the central parliamentarian thinking in the Western world is the so-called private capitalistic thinking about economics, for instance, and politics, and the so-called communistic system expressed through a state capitalistic centralism is not able to have interest that all people come on, go and begin to think with her own powers, because that is the only danger for all the old danger for all dictatorship, and is a principle the so-called apparently democratic structure and the parliamentary democratic structure are other kinds of dictatorship, and they use it with the powers of economics they have in the moment to make special constellation on the market, to make special constellation in the information level. And normally the information level is a mean, a schooling and educating mean should be hang together with universities, education things, school system, and all these institutions is now in the powers of a minority, and they are not interested to establish and to produce and to care for a new structure in culture, for instance, to have a result for more creativity in the majority.
Mögen Sie sich eigentlich leiden, Herr Beuys? Mögen Sie sich, fühlen Sie sich wohl mit sich selber? Was fehlt Ihnen heute am meisten? Stört Sie das eigentlich, wenn man Sie einen Spinner nennt? So ein bisschen Fett an der Fußleiste. Inhalt Kaffee mit Ei. Wie verstehe ich? Sind Sie sicher, dass Sie da die Wahrheit und nichts als die Wahrheit gesagt haben? Mögen Sie sich, fühlen Sie sich wohl mit sich selber? Wie verstehe ich? Herr Beuys, wie verstehe ich das? Herr Beuys, wie verstehe ich das? Sind Sie glücklich?
Aus dem Land, das sich selbst zerstört und uns den Way of Life diktiert. Da kommt Regen, bringt Waffen und Tod. Und hört er Frieden, sieht er rot. Er sagt als Präsident von USA: Atomkrieg ja, bitte doch und da. Ost, Polen, Mittelosten, Nicaragua. Er will den Endsieg, das ist doch klar. Doch wir wollen Sonne statt Regen. Ohne Rüstung leben, ob West, ob Ost. Auf Raketen muss Rost. Wir wollen Sonne statt Regen. Ohne Rüstung leben, ob West, ob Ost. Auf Raketen muss Rost. Er will die Säcke im Osten reizen, die auch nicht mit Atomen geizen. Doch dein Krieg um hirnverbrannte Ziele, der läuft nicht wegen wir sind viele. Hau ab mit deinen Nuklearstrategen, deinen Russenhassern, deinen Strahlenregen. Mensch, Knitterface, der Film ist aus. Nimm die Raketen mit nach Haus.
Denn wir wollen Sonne statt Regen. Ohne Rüstung leben, ob Ost, ob West. Kalten Kriegern die Pest. Wir wollen Sonne statt Regen. Ohne Rüstung leben, ob Ost, ob West. Kalten Kriegern die Pest. Dieser Regen kommt als Mann der Rüstungsindustrie, but the people of the States don't want it nie. Und den wahren Frieden wird's erst geben, wenn alle Menschen ohne Waffen leben. Wir wollen Sonne statt Regen, ohne Rüstung leben, ob West,